Subscribe on all platforms and leave that 5-star review. Let's get it.
So he jumps in the middle of it and he quotes a rap lyric. It's a parade inside my city. Yeah. And it's just straight jubilation.
It's a parade inside my city. Yeah. Which told you it's a parade inside my city. Yeah.
New car, congratulations on the win.
It's a parade inside my city. Yeah.
It's a parade inside my city. Yeah.
Talk about it.
You are now tuned in to Above the Rim. Hoops talk for the streets.
Family, what's good? Welcome back to another edition of Above the Rim. Hoops talk for the streets. You already know how we do, family. It's your host, Justin, aka Just Blaze. This is episode 200, family. 200 episodes in the books. Family, you know the drill. To get in contact with me, you can always hit me up and follow me on Twitter at JustBlaze_513, on IG at JustBlaze513, on Facebook and YouTube. Search Above the Rim NBA Podcast and also email the show, Above the Rim NBA Podcast at gmail.com. Tap in and leave the family a voicemail. Talk About It line is always open, 908-718-1592. Make sure you're doing that. Best way to support the show is by copping your merch. As always, family, I appreciate you. Family, I want to see y'all in those hoodies and those tees, all of that good stuff. I see the stats, so I know you copping, but I need some of y'all to let the streets know that you got them too as well. So send me some photos, pictures, all of that good stuff to let the streets know. Copping that ATR merch. Shout out to the homie Big Dave as well. I know the family saw him last episode sporting that ATR hoodie. Looking clean, looking fresh in that hoodie. So shout out to him with that. Make sure you hit the website, cop all your hoodies and tees, as I said before. Link is in my bio. Show some love. I appreciate it, of course. Leave a review on iTunes. Leave a review on Spotify if you rock with the show. If you're watching on YouTube, stop what you're doing right now. Give me a little thumbs up. Give me a like, a subscribe in the comments. Show some love. Tell me your thoughts on the topics that we're talking about. I want to hear from y'all too, family. Family. Can't believe we hit episode 200. Listen, shout out to everyone who's been listening since the beginning, since the Free Oak episode with my boy Domo. Shout out to you, my brother. Listen, the ATR family and the supporters, this isn't possible with y'all, man. So much respect for me, much love for me, as always, for being here with me for 200 episodes. Major love goes out to the two other individuals who helped me make this show possible. Super producer, engineer, my man Yannick on the sound. E for the superb visuals. I couldn't thank y'all two enough for your time. 200 down, 200 more to go. Let's get into some news around the NBA, family, because we got some basketball to talk about. There's some shit happening in the NBA. Let's get to it, man. Ja Morant is back. Y'all heard the intro. It's a parade inside the city right now. Listen, Ja Morant is back on the floor, and he's picking up right where he left off, all right? Now, did he learn his lesson? Maybe, but maybe not. But I never thought that he had a problem to begin with. I'm going to be honest, right? Listen, it's tough to be labeled as something when you're really not like that. But like I said before, the guy made a dumbass mistake. He got caught, slightly paid the price. You know what I'm saying? He took I wouldn't say take a couple of games off. The Grizzlies suspended him for a couple of days. He did the time slightly. You know, he was in his rehabilitation center or therapy session or whatever they made him go through. But I really didn't think it was really necessary or really needed, but, you know, they had to do something in order to discipline Ja in some way, shape, or form. But sometimes paying the price for your image may be worse than a financial damage. So now he has to work twice as hard to prove everyone wrong and to spin the narrative about himself. But damn, Ja Morant came back with a vengeance. Still yamming on cats, catching bodies. But most importantly, what he brought back to the Grizzlies was hope, right? Hope for the Grizzlies and the Grizzlies fam that this season ain't over. Now, I don't know why people are sleeping on the Grizzlies, but they are still a top three team in the West, probably a top 5, top 6 team in the NBA as a whole. And I'll even go as far as to say Ja Morant being out for the Memphis Grizzlies was a blessing in disguise for the team. And let me tell you why. Triple J was forced to become a better offensive player in Ja Morant's absence, right? The Grizzlies have won 7 of their last 8 games. Triple J led the Grizzlies with a season-high 37 points in Ja Morant's return. He's averaging 21 and 3 blocks in the 14 games without Ja Morant this year. He had 25-plus points in 5 straight games while shooting over 65% in that stretch, punishing smaller defenders in the paint, as well as stepping out, hitting that 3-ball. First-time All-Star this year, and I haven't even spoken about him being a Defensive Player of the Year. Well, my pick for Defensive Player of the Year. Triple J's offense is the key to how far the Grizzlies go in this postseason. Listen, I know Ja's doing his thing. I know my boy Desmond Bane is going to get his buckets. Dylan Brooks is still going to be a menace on the floor. Aquaman is still hustling in the paint, grabbing those boards on the glass. Luke Kennard was a solid pickup for the Grizzlies, but if Triple J gives the Grizzlies that extra layer, if he can perform to his potential offensively, with all that Ja hoopla going on, it brought the extra haters out. But because of that, I think the Grizzlies have now become the most underrated team in the league. The most underrated team in the league. All right, listen, to me, when I look at the West, when it's all said and done, when it's all shakes out, I'm gonna talk about it in a little bit later on in the episode. I think the Grizzlies and the Suns, to me, are the 2 best teams in the West, in my opinion. And I'm predicting those 2 to face off in the conference finals. And we'll get to that of how I think it's actually going to go down. But Ja Morant being back now, I know many of the national media narratives or the national media pundits are kind of low-key counting out the Grizzlies. And I don't know why. This team was a top 3 team in the West the entire year. You know, they've shown last year they can win games without Ja Morant. They've shown this year they can win games without Ja Morant. The depth is a little bit better. Like I said, the Luke Kennard pickup, I like that. Tyus Jones, he's been excellent off the bench. He's one of the better backup point guards in the league. And when I look at the Grizzlies, like I said before, the key is Triple J. We know the defense is going to be there. We know the weak side protection is going to be there. But is the offense going to be there? I think in the playoffs, he's going to have to average around 20 points. Somewhere around there, 19, 20, 18 probably should be the minimum for Triple J in the playoffs, right? So if he can up that to maybe 20, Bane is going to give you 20. Dylan Brooks might give you a little, 10 to 14 points. Steven Adams is going to give you around 10. Luke Kennard, he's got to hit his shots as well. The Grizzlies, one of their Achilles heel is fourth quarter scoring and clutch scoring. And we know why. It's because the Grizzlies are way too Ja Morant dependent when it comes down in the stretch. And when it comes out late game situations, it's Ja Morant or nothing. If you remember the last year in the playoffs when they played the Golden State Warriors, right? Ja had to score damn near 40 in every win for the Memphis Grizzlies. So we know that's not a sustainable thing if you really want to make a deep, deep run in the playoffs. So with Ja Morant being out, I actually think it was a blessing in disguise for this Memphis Grizzlies team because I think they're going to come back strong. And I think now they feel renewed, re-energized, rehabilitated now with Ja Morant coming back. So shout out to the Grizzlies. And I think the streets are sleeping on the Grizzlies, man. So look out for them. And I briefly talked about the Suns. I want to talk about them a little bit too also as well. They've been slightly reeling as of late, right? Without Kevin Durant in the lineup, which is to be expected. He is pretty much the best player on the team now. They traded some pieces away for him, so naturally you're going to have a little bit of a drop-off if the player or if the players that you traded for the player you got is injured and then they're not there as well. So basically there's a big hole inside of the Phoenix Suns roster. So it should be expected that there's going to be a slight tad bit of a drop-off. But with that being said, the Suns still need to be playing better, right? So KD should be back this week. The Suns need it big time, as we know. They recently lost 6 out of their last 7. Devin Booker has been on fire in March, averaging over 34 a game. CP has been rounding into form. He's getting his playoff legs ready. I see him scoring a little bit more, taking a couple more shots. He might have listened to the episode when I was talking to my man, boy Gabe, because I told him he got to shoot some more threes, and he's been shooting a couple more threes. Now, some of them are not going in as much as he would like, but he's shooting them. He's taking them because when Kevin Durant comes back in that lineup, he's going to be wide open. Chris Paul, you have to be confident in those threes, brother. I might need the average to go up to 15 or 20 in the playoffs. I'm going to be honest with you. I may need your scoring to go up in the playoffs for the Suns to go where they need to go, right? So Ayton is coming back as well. He's still coming back from his hip injury, I believe, this week also as well. So by the end of the week, the Suns are going to be whole, right? The bench needs to step up, depending on who the opponent is. Depending on who the opponent is will dictate who off the bench plays the most minutes. And maybe Okogie some nights for defensive purposes. Maybe Craig also as well for defensive purposes. A little bit more size. Damian Lee for some shooting. Terrence Ross. TJ Warren. It's gonna be a mix and match of a couple of those guys to see who actually will excel in that particular series, or who would just excel in that particular matchup, right? But what I came here to talk about with the Suns is I want to tell you one reason why I'm slightly worried about the Suns going into the postseason, right? And let me tell you why. There's no goon activity on this Phoenix Suns team, and it has me concerned a little bit. It's not about the X's and O's with this Phoenix Suns team, because I know they're well equipped with all the talent, with all the execution that the team goes through, right? But I'm watching them every single night, and they're playing nice guy basketball right now. Nice guy basketball right now. They're supremely skilled and disciplined, but to a fault, right? Sometimes you have to say, F the game plan and do whatever it takes to win. Doesn't matter what's on the game plan. When it comes down to the playoffs, some of these games will be very ugly. The execution won't be as crisp. The refs will be a little shittier. The opposing team might be a little tight because they may be less talented than you are. And if and when they do take a hard foul or a cheap shot or generally become more physical throughout the game, how will you guys respond to that? So one of the only things that worry me about this Phoenix Suns team is how they handle a very, very physical series in the playoffs. Sometimes you need a guy that's going to take that hard foul, a people's elbow, or something like that to let them know it is what it is in the playoffs, right? So we'll see how the Suns combat the physicality, because let it be known, they will be tried in the NBA playoffs. They definitely will be tried, because the jury is out. Well, some players or some teams may think the Suns, I don't even want to say soft, because I don't believe that at all. They're not soft at all. But they may think that they can't handle a physical game, and they may think that that's their weak point, being more physical with them. Because remember Kevin Durant being on a bunch of teams before, him being on Brooklyn, Golden State. They always tend to use a physical defender against Kevin Durant to knock him off his spots, to get him off those easy baskets that he gets, and not allow him to isolate as easy as he normally does. Book, we know he has a tendency sometimes to struggle a little bit with some more physicality, when he goes against guys like Drew Holiday, defenders like that. And then Chris Paul, we know the game plan that the opponents use is to pick him up full court, 94 feet, and be physical with him and annoy the shit out of Chris Paul the entire game. So the physicality, that's what I'm looking for the Phoenix Suns down the stretch, because I think talent-wise, Kevin Durant is an easy, smooth transition. He's going to gel very nicely. It's not going to be any drop-off. It's just going to be an easy upgrade for when Kevin Durant comes into the lineup. The offense is going to be crisp. Like I said, they're a very well-executed team, a very well-oiled machine. You see when Kevin Durant is in the lineup, they didn't even lose a game. So that's no issue there. The problem to me, not even the problem. The issue, or maybe the slight concern, physicality. So that's what I'm looking out for when I look at the Phoenix Suns. Also, the bench rotation as well is something that Monty Williams needs to hash out. I think he's going to have to decide who's got to play the most out of Torrey Craig, TJ Warren, Terrence Ross. He has to decide who's going to play the most minutes out of that crew. Some games you're going to need a little bit more offense. Some games you're going to need a little bit more defense. So we're going to see how he makes those rotational adjustments and make those in-game adjustments, because he lacked some of that last season. He took, in that Maverick series playing against the Suns, there were a lot of things going wrong. I don't even want to get into that, because I can really run a laundry list of things that the Suns did wrong in that series. But one of the things that the coaching staff did wrong is they didn't make a lot of in-game adjustments. They didn't make a lot of in-series adjustments from game to game. And Jason Kidd actually out-coached Monty Williams when it comes to adjustments. So they're going to have to shore that up, and that's a slight bit of concern with the Phoenix Suns going into the postseason as well. In regards to seeding, I think they're going to finish in that 4th spot. I hope they finish in that 4th spot. They have 5 home games left among their last 7. They already own the tiebreaker against the Warriors and very likely own the tiebreaker against the Clippers as well, who are their biggest competition for that 4th seed with the Warriors as well. So I assume they stay in the 4th seed. We'll see if they stay in the 4th seed. And we're going to see how KD looks coming back, from the ankle split. I believe he's going to be fine. It's not going to be any issue. They probably will put him on a minutes restriction for the last couple of games and then maybe go full out the last 2 or 3 games. But I'm not worried about KD at all. And I still think the Suns are the team to be in the Western Conference against anybody. Moving on. I want to talk about the Sacramento Kings right now. Family, I'm about to fill out my Sacramento Kings apology form this week because, damn, I didn't believe in the Beam team before. I'm not going to lie, but I do now, all right? Shout out to the Sacramento Kings because they will be ending the 16-year playoff drought. It's been a long-ass time since they were in the playoffs. 06 to be exact. The longest playoff drought in NBA history. And I'm very happy for the Sacramento Kings for making it to the playoffs. Big shout out to them. Coach Mike Brown is clearly the coach of the year, in my opinion. I think it should kind of be unanimous for him being coach of the year because nobody was expecting the Sacramento Kings to be a 3rd seed, a 2nd or 3rd seed. Some people predicted them to maybe be fighting for the play-in to have a much better season this year, but 3rd seed, home court advantage in the West, not a lot of people call that. So shout out to the Kings for that. The combo of De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis has been excellent this year. Swiper Fox has been leading the NBA in clutch scoring and the Sacramento Kings have the NBA's #1 offense this year. Red Velvet, Kevin Huerter, and Malik Monk has been balling this year. Shout out to them, man, for real. They're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. And this Sacramento Kings team is no pushover, in my opinion. Any team thinking that this Kings team is going to be an easy out in the playoffs due to experience or lack of experience is sadly mistaken. Now, I would love to see them match up against the Clippers, maybe against the Mavs, but now the Mavs is so far deep in the play-in, I don't think they can even get up that far to even play the Kings, but we'll see how their playoff matchups work out because how they move will be matchup dependent on who plays the Sacramento Kings. And listen, the Beam team should be on everyone's radar because they have been hooping, they have been balling, and shout out to them. They have had an excellent season. So no matter what shakes out for them, no matter how they do in the playoffs, this season has been a success for them. And they have some building blocks moving forward. So shout out to the Kings. Let's talk about LeBron a little bit. LeBron is back. Back today. The Lakers took a nice L to the Chicago Bulls. It's about time, man. The Lakers are really playing with their playoff lives here. I don't have too much to say about these boys right now because other than they have to make the playoffs. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's nothing else to talk about with the Lakers if they don't make the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs, that's another conversation for another day. But to talk about them right now, it's playoffs on nothing. There's nothing else to be talking about the Los Angeles Lakers right now. They've been doing a lot of chirping now since they got this new roster. So the playoffs is a must, an absolute must. So with LeBron back now, how do his teammates adjust to seeing the Rock a lot less? Can they adjust? Do they adjust? We already seen this last game. They looked like they had some growing pains now again because they had a little bit of chemistry. They had a little bit of a groove with Austin Reeves playing well, with AD playing dominant. Vanderbilt been playing well. D'Lo, he's been in and out of the lineup, but they've had a lot of production from a lot of pieces stepping up in LeBron's absence. But when LeBron comes in, a little bit more ball dominant. Holding the ball for a couple more possessions, maybe taking some shots that he shouldn't be taking, maybe a lack of a defensive effort on that side of the ball. So we're gonna see how the Lakers are making their adjustment in the last 5 games or so because there's really only like 5 to 7 games left. You gotta basically win out if you're the Lakers, right? You can't really lose any games. You maybe can spare 1 game, maybe 2. But you really have to win out if you want to have a comfortable spot in the Lakers or if you even want to have semi-home court in the play-in game because we know they're going to be in the play-in tournament. So it's been go time for the Lakers. I can't even say it's go time now. It's been go time for them. But remember what I said before about Anthony Davis if the Lakers don't make the playoffs. We'll see what happens. Maybe heads rolling, but we'll see. I think Anthony Davis is going to be that sacrificial lamb this summer if the Lakers do not make the playoffs or if they are bounced out of the play-in game in embarrassing fashion. We'll see. Keep your eye on the Lakers, man. I'm telling you, something's about to happen if they don't do well. Ben Simmons shut down. Listen, the Nets came out and said that Ben Simmons has been shut down for the rest of the season due to, I think it was some more complicated things in his back surgery. I don't want to hear any of that, right? I've never been more disappointed in a player than I've ever been in Ben Simmons, right? When the trade happened, I was actually on board with it. I'm mad at myself that I was on board with this damn train because of what I thought he could be, what I thought he could bring to the table. You know what he has brought to the table? Absolutely nothing. He's brought nothing but loud fits to the bench on the Nets, right? He's brought nothing. He's done nothing. Ben Simmons, what have you done? I'm so sick of looking at you on the sidelines. Don't even come to the games anymore, Ben Simmons. You're not playing anymore. You're not contributing. Don't sit on the bench. Stay in the locker room. Watch that game. I'm sick of looking at Ben Simmons and his loud fits on the bench. You're not contributing. You could have been an integral piece to this new Brooklyn Nets team, this new Brooklyn Nets lineup. You could have actually played a decent role. Because you know what the Nets need right now? They need a point guard. What are you? A point guard. You could have helped out a lot. But how much did you help out? Zero at all. So I'm my fault for the emotions. But you know, when anybody brings up Ben Simmons to me, I get really pissed off because he has done absolutely nothing, right? I said on my previous episode, one of my previous episodes, that the Nets should just trade him. On the trade market, he's not worth anything but 2 garlic knots and 2 Hamilton tickets, right? But now I'm thinking the price may have dropped now. It's so bad now, the price may have dropped. All it might take for a Ben Simmons trade, all it might take for a Ben Simmons trade is 2 sangrias and 2 iPick tickets for Ben Simmons to get traded this summer, all right? Listen, the Nets need to move on as fast as they can this summer. I'm sick of Ben Simmons. Now, before I move on to the questions from the family in our last segment, a couple of weeks ago, it was announced that the NBA was looking to implement a minimum games played requirement for all of the major awards, and I love it, right? Let me talk about it. I love it. Let's talk about it because I didn't get to talk about it before my last episode. Here's how I look at it. The minimum amount of games for all awards should be 60 games, and that includes all NBA. For MVP, though, since it's the NBA's highest individual honor, I need 70 games played and a top 3 seed in your conference in order to be eligible for the MVP. Listen, the NBA markets its stars, so you have to hold them accountable, and they have to play. If you can't play 70 games, you can't be MVP of this league. I don't care how dominant you are. I don't care what your stats look like. Availability is also a stat. Let's not forget about that, right? So if you want these awards, and if their contracts have incentives that are tied to these awards, there shouldn't be much discussion about this. Each year, there's too much discussion about the NBA MVP. Now there's way too many candidates because there's no criteria. Now the MVP is being chosen on who you like, whose stats you like, who has prettier moves to some people. It's no criteria at all. So putting in a criteria of 70 games played eliminates a lot of players, right? A lot of players won't even qualify for the 70 games. So that eliminates a lot of guys right there. So now the MVP award will be harder to grasp. And you will actually have to want that MVP award. You have to really strive for that. You have to really make it your point to play almost every game in the season, only have maybe a slight injury, and you have to have dominated the entire season. Because if you play 70 games, you damn near play the entire season. So you've dominated, and you're the MVP, you've dominated the entire season. No more 50 games played, no more 55 games played, 58 games played, barely pushing 60. It's 70 or nah. Other awards, I'll be a little nicer, maybe 60 games. But MVP is 70 or nah. I'm telling you right now. And also on the MVP tip really quick, I know I talked about it last episode with Big Dave about the MVP award. I'm going to be honest, family. The MVP award right now is Joel Embiid's to lose, right? I know when I was talking the day before, I brought up Tatum and I say he was my MVP at the moment for the reasons that I did give, but it switched. Embiid has been unstoppable once again this season. And the only thing stopping him this season is himself and his health, right? Averaging 33 and 10, most 30-point games this season out of any player. 76ers are in third place. He fits all my criteria, obviously, except for the games played. He doesn't meet the games played requirement that I said earlier, but I don't think any of the candidates meet that games played requirement. But this year, that aside, Joel Embiid is an MVP. Going forward, he's going to have to play 70 games, right? So he's going to have to muster up the energy and the strength to play 70 games in the season because he's going to have to, right? So the MVP race, I think it's currently right now, I think it's Joel Embiid to lose. And ultimately, I think Joel Embiid will win the MVP. And he deserves it. He deserved it. He's been absolutely sensational, unstoppable, whatever you want to call Joel Embiid. That's why I had the 76ers as one of my top teams in the East coming into the season. I actually had them as my finals pick in the East going into the season because I really love the additions that they had this summer. And Joel Embiid has been unstoppable once again. I thought he was coming into the season going to be MVP Joel Embiid, and he's doing just that. So MVP award, 70 games requirement, top 3 in your conference. If you disagree, if you agree, tell me about it. Talk to me in the comments. Let me know, family. Okay, family. This may be my favorite part of this 200th episode. Y'all sent in the voicemails and emails with the questions and the comments, and I appreciate it, family. There were more than I even expected to come in, so I'm going to try to get to most of them. So let's start off with the voicemails first.
What's good, Above the Rim family? It's your boy Domo checking in, and you know I got to come through and congratulate my brother Just, you know what I mean, on that episode 200. You know, that's a big milestone. You know, we keeping it going, thriving. You know what I mean? The show is the best show out there, man. And it's only a matter of time before you take off, my brother. And you know, amongst other things, I wanted to say, we didn't get the parade on Flatbush, man. But you know, sometimes in life you gotta just move on, man. You gotta move on, and you know, I'm looking forward to a parade out in the desert, man. Yeah, that's right, man. I'm rooting for the Suns this year, man. So it's looking like me and you was on the same accord, my brother. What you think about that, man? All right.
Domo, I appreciate you, my brother, man. My guy for life, man. You've been with me since episode 1, Free Oak. I appreciate you, my brother. But listen, now you want to root for the Suns now? Come on, my brother. Listen, I ain't mad at it. I know we couldn't get the parade on Flatbush. Me and Reem talk about every time we get on this mic. We talk about the parade on Flatbush was supposed to happen, but it's definitely not happening this year, right? So it's all right, man. You know what I'm saying? You can root for the fellas in the desert, but you got to chill on the CP slander, my boy. You know what I'm saying? We're not getting that parade on Flatbush, but we'll take it in the desert, right? So let's get to the next voicemail. Domo, I appreciate you, my brother, as always. Shout out to my man, Mo Cheese.
Yo, first off, it's your boy Mo, up in flames, Mo. Hey, congratulations, my dog, to 200 episodes. But let me drop a question. I'm going to put in a hypothetical because I'm going to mess your mind up. Probably not going to happen, but hypothetically, Jay Blaze, yes. Phoenix versus Miami in the NBA Finals. Tell me who you taking. I'm going to put you in your worst predicament than your two teams you rocking with. Phoenix versus Miami. Tell me who you take it, and I'm talking about who are you rooting for. Who do you want to see win the chip? Not, we probably think Phoenix will win. Who you want to see win the chip? Once again, shout out to you on your 200th episode. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Love you, my brother.
Mo, I appreciate you, my brother, for calling in. Shout out to my man for the voicemail. Much respect. He will be on the show soon, so look out for him. His show, Upper Flames Pod. Make sure you check that out. Fam, this was an easy one right here. I'm not going to hold you. This one was easy for me because the prophecy is not complete. You know the prophecy is I need my boy CP to win a title, and the prophecy is not complete. So it's an easy decision for me. You know I rock with Miami, Brooklyn Nets, Phoenix Suns. I root for these brothers to all do well, but it's CP over everything right now. Gotta win a title. My man needs to win the title so I can shut the haters up and really quiet all the noise. So shout out to you, my brother Mo. I appreciate you. I'll see you on the episode soon, my brother. Last voicemail rounding out, my boy Reem. Talk to me.
Yo, what's good, family? You know, it's your boy Remo. a.k.a. Mr. Rich Threads, a.k.a. Mellow Reams, a.k.a. Dame Time Ream, checking in with the Above the Rim family for the first time in a long time. I just want to say, wow, we are back in the Wild Wild West. It's looking crazy out here. Big names got moved during before the All-Star break. Didn't pan out to what we expected. Yeah. AD is looking like AD without less sexual Braun. Is that what they needed? Should they move on from Braun? Is Braun the cancer?
Ooh.
Is Kyrie a cancer?
Ooh.
It's looking crazy out there in the West. Games are separated by maybe 2 games the most, and then you're out of the play-in. It's crazy. And then poor Dame. I told y'all, man.
Yeah.
Dame is loyal to the soil. It's our fault. But, you know what I'm saying? Will he wake up? Will he join a contender? Because we deserve to see Dame when playoff basketball matters. But, you know what I mean? That's up to Dame. And yo, New York, what's up? 5th and 6th right now. Let's talk about it.
Remo, my brother, I appreciate you as always. Shout out to you. Appreciate you for sending the voicemails. Rich Threads, make sure you check out the Line family. Show my boy some love. You said a couple of things in this voicemail right here. Should the Lakers move on from Bron? I think you bugging out right there. Come on. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it if Bron does want to move, because we know he ultimately want to play with his son Bronny. So we know it's in the realm of possibility. If he does want to move on for the Lakers, he's going to be to a team that's going to take Bronny. But I don't think the Lakers are going to move off from him at all. Who I do think is going to move on is AD if they don't make the playoffs, or if they are taken out of the playoffs in an embarrassing fashion. I think they're going to get rid of AD. So that's something I told everybody to look out for. I don't know what's going to go on with there. And you talked about, is Kyrie a cancer? I'm going to talk about the Mavs in a little bit, because I don't think Kyrie's a cancer at all. I think maybe the Mavs were a flawed team to begin with, and they brought a player in who doesn't fix the flaws that they already had. So I think this little semi-slide that the Mavericks are going through right now was inevitable anyway, with or without Kyrie. Now, he helps the situation a little bit. He hurts in some ways, but they have more issues than just Kyrie Irving. So do I think he's a cancer? Absolutely not. Dame, you brought up before too. Dame is loyal to the soil. I know, man. It's crazy. He's basically shut down for the season now, which is very disappointing. I thought he would be at least in the play-in and, at least fighting to make the playoffs. But damn, I'm very disappointed in the Trailblazers as a whole, because they were one of the teams going into the season that I had high hopes on, that I actually thought was gonna play really well. But I know he's loyal to the soil. I know he's your guy. Will he join a contender? I don't know, man. I actually think Dame is going to stay. I'll be honest with you. I think he's, he's comfortable being on the Blazers. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think everyone, has to win a championship if it's not really in their cards. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't take anything away from him as an individual player. He's still a tremendous individual talent. I made an episode before, one of the greatest offensive players that the NBA has ever seen, especially as a guard. One of the greatest shooters the NBA has ever seen, especially as a guard. So Dame Lillard, I would love for him to be on a contender. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with him this summer, but I don't know, man. I think he's actually going to stay in Portland, to be honest, because I think he's just comfortable there. So I'm not mad at it, man. And New York, you brought up New York basketball, New York playoff basketball. That's what I'm talking about, my brother. That's what I'm talking about, man. So, family, let's close it out with some email questions from the Above the Rim family here. I got E joining me for this segment. She's here to help me run down these questions. Shout out to you, E. Most of these questions are email submitted, some DM submitted. So shout out to the family for that. E, thank you for helping me out with this. I'm ready when you are. Drop me off with the first question.
All right. First question is from Daryl in DC, and he says, Jason Kidd said the Mavs need to grow up in order to win a championship. Is he sending the right message?
Ooh, good question, Daryl, man. I appreciate you for sending in the question. Is he sending the right message? I think he is, to be honest, right? Low-key, the Dallas Mavericks have been one of the whiniest teams in the league, right? Luka has been one of the whiniest players in the league, especially lately. He's been whining call after call after call after call after call after call. Damn, even Skip Bayless called him out for being so whiny. So they have to quit out on the whining, and I think that's a part of what Jason Kidd is referring to when he's talking about growing up. You have to play a mature style of basketball, a mature game, a mature way of handling things, especially when you're going through some adversity, because that's all they're going through right now. Just a little adversity. Just have to band together as a team. They were the 4th seed when Kyrie got there. They just dropped down a little. They didn't drop out. They just dropped down. So they can easily get back in. Listen, Luka and Kyrie have both been in and out of the lineup. The defense is horrible. The strategy is to outscore, but most of the good teams that they're playing against can also score. So you may not be able to outscore every team. You're going to have to play some defense, and you're going to have to really make a committed effort on that end. I think since the Kyrie trade, they're 5-13 as a record or something like that. Not good. Jason Kidd's lineup, some of them are pretty suspect, but the Mavs have a lot of things, a lot of kinks they're going to have to iron out. And now they put themselves in a position where they're going to have to battle just to get into the playoffs. So the Mavs, we taking a real clean look at them, and I'm curious to see what happens with them. But I don't think it's all Kyrie's fault as he's been getting the blame. I think that's ridiculous to give him the blame because Luka deserves just as much blame, if not more, because that's his team. So appreciate the question, my brother. E, hit me with the next one.
All right, next question's from Mike T from Brooklyn. He says, if Zion comes back for the playing game, will the Pelicans make the playoff?
Damn, appreciate the question, Mike. Damn, this one is tough. I'm not going to lie because off rip, now that I think about it, off rip, I'm going to say no because the two teams that I personally think are making the playoffs are the Lakers and the Mavs. Now, listen, the Pelicans could be both of those teams, in my opinion, but what does Zion even give you right now when he does come back into the lineup in a very, very high-intensity playoff game? I don't know what Zion's going to look like. You don't know what Zion's going to look like. The streets don't know what Zion is going to look like. Is he moving the same? Is he going to have the same mobility? He was looking great before the injury, but is he the same player? We don't know because Zion goes through this injury process every time, and then he ends up coming back the next year. So we'll see if he even comes back this year because we know firsthand if he doesn't come back, they're definitely not making it into the playoffs. But with him back, they were at one point in this season a number 1 seed in the West. So they do have the potential to be any team in the league, to be any team in the West. So they're going to need him. And I actually think he probably will come back for the play-in game. So we'll see if he actually does. And I don't know. They got a lot of shit they got to work out because they have been one of the most disappointing teams in the league after being one of the most surprising teams in the league. So they have, the Pelicans as a whole have had a seismic shift when it comes to their seeding in the playoffs. Next question, E, hit me with that.
All right, we got a Knicks fan here in the house. Malik C from Brooklyn asks, Jaylen Brown was talking spicy about his future with the Celtics.
Yes.
You think he could be on the move in the future? If so, maybe to my Knicks?
Oh, okay, he putting his bid in. Okay, Malik, I'm not mad at that. Listen, I can't front. I'm looking at Jaylen Brown's situation with the Boston Celtics. I do think he is actually going to move on from them eventually. I know it was crazy to hear that, but I really do think he's going to move on eventually. He hasn't been happy being in trade rumors for the last couple of summers, last couple of seasons. You know he's very pro-black, playing in a city where that's not the priority. And so I do think it's possible that he's going to want to move on. Not necessarily that the Celtics are going to want to move him, but I think he's one of those players who could possibly low-key request a trade if he really wants to move on, if they have a bad exit in the playoffs, or maybe if he just wants to try something new. Because I do think Jaylen Brown is that type. He's been speaking out about the Celtics fans a little bit lately. So he has planted seeds where it wouldn't be a major surprise if he does want to move on this summer, if they do either try or maybe start fielding some offers. But to the Knicks, though, I low-key like it. I'm not going to hold you. I love Jaylen Brown actually in New York City. I'm not going to lie. Listen, the Knicks have the picks to pull off a deal. And now they would have to give up a lot, though. And they absolutely should for a player like Jaylen Brown. They're probably going to have to give up where am I drawing about? RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, probably a 4 or 5 picks. It's going to have to be a mega deal. But I do think they have some assets where it's possible they can entice the Celtics. But it's going to be really crazy to trade with somebody else in the same division as yours. So that's going to be interesting to see if JB acts out or if he has some inklings or whatever. With the playoffs, what happens in the playoffs is going to dictate a lot of what goes in the summer, which I always say every year because it does. You see how it dictated last year once the Nets were bounced out of the playoffs in a sweeping fashion, you started hearing the rumblings of KD and Kyrie maybe wanting out. So anything can happen in the NBA, as you all know. Next question.
All right, we got a question from Twitter. Terry at T-Dot asks, Just, if you had to pick the best offensive player in the NBA right now, who would it be?
Number one. Now, I had an episode about this a little while ago with Domo and Reem. Caught a little bit of flack for that because, the Jokic stands for on my ass, pause. They were mad at me about that. They were a little upset that I didn't have Jokic high on my rankings on the top offensive players in the league. I mean, I did have him high on my rankings, but he just wasn't, in my top 3. Probably not. I don't think I even have him in my top 5. But, that's all based on opinion, right? Because when you talk offense, you're talking everything that encompasses offense, right? That's passing, shooting, rebounding, everything that goes into being an offensive player, right? How you make your teammates better, leadership, all of that goes into that to me. But just offensively speaking, to answer your question, Terry, if I had to, honestly speaking, right, my personal opinion, I know you're going to kill me for this, but I actually think it's a tie of the best offensive player in the league, in my opinion. I think it's a tie between Kevin Durant and Joel Embiid. I think these two guys are the best offensive players in the league right now because there's no weaknesses in their offensive game. None at all. They can score anytime, anyhow, how they want, wherever they want. And it's just a matter of, are they going to make it or are they going to miss it? So I think those are my 2 best offensive players in the league. But if I had to choose one, gun in my head, I guess I'm going to go with Kevin Durant is my best offensive player. So there's that. Next question.
All right. Nick from Chicago asks, can anyone in the East beat the Bucks in a series?
Good question, man. You must have been reading my mind with that question because I was just thinking about that the other day. Listen, I don't know who can really beat the Milwaukee Bucks in a series in the Eastern Conference because it's going to be, they are stacked right now. I'm going to be honest. I really love how the Milwaukee Bucks team is set up. Got Giannis over there, obviously the best player in the world, one of the best players in the world, however you want to slice it. The Milwaukee Bucks are going to be tough to take out. So I'm going to say, can anyone beat the Bucks? They can be beaten, but I think it's going to be very difficult to pull off, right? Giannis is a beast. We know this guy is a beast. In the playoffs, out of the playoffs, 26-5, the Milwaukee Bucks are in their last 31 games. I love how their roster is shaking out. They have height, they have heart, they have defense, they have grit, they have shooting, they have playmaking. They got it all. Stellar defense. Jay Crowder, I was mad about that Jay Crowder pickup going to the Bucks because he's exactly what they needed. Jay Crowder, Bobby Portis, Giannis, Brook Lopez, one of the Defensive Player of the Year candidates. The Milwaukee Bucks are stacked. And can anyone beat the Bucks in a series in the East? I'm going to go say yes for the purposes of the players. I think someone can beat the Bucks in the series, but I think it's going to be very tough. I actually think the 2 best teams in the East, and who I think will square up in the East, is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers. So we'll see if that, what's going on with there, but we'll see. Next question.
All right, we have a question from Tiffany. Tiffany asks, do you think Wiggins will come back by the playoffs? And if so, do the Warriors need him to win a title?
Good question, Tiffany. Appreciate the question. I'm going to go a double yes on that, right? Double yes on that because I think Wiggins is going to come back. Low-key, I know a lot of people are counting him out that he won't come back, but I think he will come back literally by the playoffs. And, I think the Warriors are going to make it very low-key. I think because they don't want everybody else getting in what's going on with Andrew Wiggins and his personal business, and it's not any of our personal business anyway. I think they're going to make it low-key. Like, they won't even announce it until maybe the day before or something like that. I think they're going to keep it very in-house, and I do think he's going to come back for the playoffs. And yes, they do need him because there is a big hole at the 3 spot for the Warriors without him. They've been trying to plug in different places. They've been playing DiVincenzo there sometimes. They're trying to play Kuminga there sometimes. But they really need Andrew Wiggins to be back. He's one of the most integral pieces on the Golden State Warriors because he guards the opposing team's best perimeter player along with Klay Thompson. And he does provide them great size and athleticism at that 3 spot. So do they need him? Yes. Is he going to come back? Maybe. But I'm going to go yes for the question's purposes. So appreciate the question. What you got for me?
Anthony F. asks, who will be the Final Four in the NBA this year?
Final Four in the NBA this year. I talked about it a few times, actually, who I think my Final Four is. And I talked about it before the season started. And you know me, I keep that same energy no matter what. So I'm not switching. My Final Four in the NBA this year will be, in the Western Conference, it's going to be the Suns and the Grizzlies. And in the Eastern Conference, it's going to be the Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm going there. I know a lot of people are going to be like, damn, you're not picking the Celtics? No. I think I like the Celtics. They could beat anybody in the East. They could beat anybody in the league. They've been pretty much the best team in the league for a large portion of the season. But I don't know. There's something about this Philly team that's getting me. I don't know what it is, man. Maybe I drunk some potion. I don't know what it is, but something about this Philadelphia 76ers team. I feel like this is the year they take that next leap, and it's going to be a major battle if they were to play the Milwaukee Bucks in the conference finals in the East. Next question. What we got?
All right. So we have Ray in Brooklyn coming through with a really tough question for you. He asks, I know you've been talking up the Nets hard lately, but be honest, do you think they can win a playoff series?
Damn, you put me on the spot. Who's this, Ray? Damn, Ray, you put me on the spot, my man. Ooh, do I think the Nets are going to win a playoff series? Now, this is a complicated question because if I say yes, then who exactly are they going to beat, right? Now, usually or most likely who they're going to match up with in the playoffs is either the Philadelphia 76ers or the Boston Celtics, most likely, because I think they're going to probably be the 6th or the 7th seed. I don't think they're going to get the 8th seed. And if they get the 8th seed and they play the Bucks, they're definitely not winning the series. I'm throwing that shit out the window right now. But 76ers or the Boston Celtics. Now, I'm a little bit worried because I do think they're going to cause some havoc or a little bit of trouble in the playoffs. And it's crazy for me to say this, but I think the Philadelphia 76ers would actually crush the Nets in the series. But I think they give the Celtics a lot of trouble in the first round series. I don't know if you guys remember a few weeks ago when the Brooklyn Nets, the first week or two when they were actually just put this roster together, they went down in TD Garden in Boston and they had one of the biggest comebacks in the NBA this season. So they did an excellent job and they came back and beat the Boston Celtics in that game. And it was a really tough fought game. Mikal Bridges was matching Jason Tatum shot for shot. And the Brooklyn Nets have some excellent defenders that can actually give the Boston Celtics trouble. Now we look at the Celtics, they're more of a perimeter-oriented team, semi-isolation team. They have two studs on the wings who can really get your shot at any time and they want. But the Brooklyn Nets, one of their main assets is that they have a plethora of wings, of defending wings that they can throw at the Boston Celtics. So I do think the Nets will give the Celtics some trouble in the series. Are they going to beat them? Can they beat them? Yes. Will they beat them? I'm going to go no, only because I feel like it's a little disrespectful if I pick the Celtics to lose in round one. But check back in with me when we get closer to the playoffs. Because you know me, I keep the same energy. But if I want to switch some shit, I'll tell you why. You know what I'm saying? So, I've been on the Brooklyn Nets. I told y'all before they're a player caliber team. I told y'all don't sleep on them. You see how they've been rocking lately. Mikal Bridges is all-star caliber player. He's going to be an all-star next year. Mark my words. And the Brooklyn Nets have been excellent. And listen, you know why they've been playing better, right? No Ben Simmons. I'm going to leave it at that. Family, appreciate you guys sending in those emails, sending in those voicemails, sending in those DMs. I appreciate you. It's all love for me. It's episode 200. I appreciate it. I know I was kind of late with saying sending me those emails and voicemails and those submissions, but I really appreciate you. Appreciate you guys. It's always love for me. I appreciate you guys again for joining me for another episode. Thank you for keeping it locked in for a whole 200 episodes. 200 episodes y'all been here. I appreciate all the love and support. Keep writing in those comments. Keep liking the vids. Please like those vids a little bit more. Share the YouTube around. I know a couple of people are like, damn, Jay, you know what I'm saying? You need more views or whatever the case may be. So share that sugar. Share the sugar around so I can get more views or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? I do it. I do this for the love. You know what I'm saying? I don't do it for all that extra stuff. So I appreciate you, family. All the real ones who are rocking with me. All the real ones who know their basketball. All the real dudes who don't watch ESPN and just get their narratives from them. They actually watch games. Shout out to y'all. Make sure you hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook with your NBA takes. Send a voicemail with your thoughts, 908-718-1592. Family, shout out to everyone who sent a voicemail in. Subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. This is episode 200, family, and we out.